Hi, it's Jim Ruta, and I'm here with my good friend Van Miller in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're just kind of, well, we're kind of rehearsing and sort of strategizing about October 24th, Thursday, October 24th, 2019, at the Toronto Airport Marriott Hotel. At that meeting, Van and I will give you all the ideas that you can possibly imagine to help you build your business. And we've been talking about what are the things that are most important. And I mean, you may have even heard some of this from Van already. But as we're talking, I thought I'd give you a couple of the secret inside views of what we've been sharing back and forth. And he's with me here, so you'll hear from him in a minute. But I wanted to get some of the inside stuff. And one of these things we've talked about, Van, was this idea of getting people over the hump, getting them over the hump, over the implementation hump. Because a lot of times people will look at the stuff that you've done, you've accomplished, as I have over the years. I look at guys, who have done extraordinary jobs, and you think, well, they must have a secret sauce, or they must be supermen, superwomen. That's why they accomplish all this. But I think you've got a little different take on this. So what can you tell me about, getting over that hump, Van?
Thanks, Jimmy. What I'm most excited about is to have a whole day like this because it gives me time to make sure that people understand that there's nothing charming about me. I don't have a gift of gab. I'm not good looking. I don't, and when you really stop and think about all the greats in the industry, I used to be the first one up to shake Bruce Hetherington's hand when he would give a speech. It was amazing. Ben Feldman, Roger Zener, Tom Wolfe, Norm Levine, all of these great people. And I would run up, shake their hand and say, that was amazing. And as I was walking out the door, I was absolutely positive that I couldn't do what they did. There's no way. And by the time I was sitting in their car, I was really sure there was no way I could do what they did. And so for 16 years, I didn't. And what I eventually was lucky enough to come across was I didn't have the courage to change. And one day I got fired. And when I got fired, I was lucky enough to call a person who said, Van, there's nothing special about this. These are learned skills. You can learn how to do this. And he said, what are you talking about? He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you some great questions, some things to ask people, but you can't just ask them. You have to practice them so that they sound like you're having a great conversation with somebody. And I learned how to do this, and I practiced, and then I learned some more things, and then I practiced, and then I learned some more things, and I watched the greats. A funny little aside for everybody. The very first year I made the top of the table, it was in Phoenix, Arizona. And the chair of the top of the table that year was Bruce Etherington. And I'll never forget when they were taking me to my room, the person said, wow, amazing. You must be with the top of the table, the bellhop. And I said, well, actually, I'm more like the legs of the top of the table. It's really funny. So they give the chair a special bungalow or a special room at these events. And at 6 a.m. the very next morning, I was knocking on Bruce Etherington's door, thanking him for all the example that he set. And if you pay attention to Bruce, Bruce practices like a crazy man. He never says one word out of place. He has practiced and practiced. The system that he uses in his office is practice and practice. And that's what I want you to understand. What we're going to show you when you spend your time with us this day is that you can learn how to do this. And here's the surprise. You can learn how to do this in days or weeks, not months or years. And we will give you the exact information that if you practice it and you practice it and you try it on everybody you come across, you will develop the skills you need to have the success that you always hoped and dreamed you could have. And how do I know that? Because it happened to me. If I can tell you one little quick aside. I used to watch this program called Dateline in the United States. And they were interviewing one of the greatest actors of all time. I love him and everything. His name is Sir Anthony Hopkins. And while they were interviewing, they were telling him, well, he's such a great actor. And he said, oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And then they said to him, it's so amazing what you do. It must be very difficult. And he started to laugh. And he looked at her and he said, no, actually, it's quite easy. And she went, what? She said, yeah, it's actually quite easy. He said, every time I get a script for a new movie or a play, he said, I say my part and everybody else's part out loud 150 times. He says, you know what happens after 150 times? He says, I don't have to think about what I'm going to say next. I can listen to the other actors and actresses and respond accordingly. He says, it's that simple now. And that's what I want all of you to understand. If the greatest actor of all time was so great that he's become a sir, and has been afforded all the great Oscars and acting awards that you can have, if he says it's all about practice, well, shouldn't we understand that it's something all of us can do? And that's what Jim and we've talked about this for many years. How could we make sure that you, the attendees, would have the information that you need and that you could actually learn how to do this, and all you'd have to do is practice the skills we share with you, and you'd have the success you were looking for. We're very excited about this.
Thanks, Van. Look, I think you're absolutely right, of course, and that idea of getting people over the implementation hump, so they don't just sit in their car scared, like you said, and be convinced that there's no way I could ever do this. And I think, having you in that room for 7 or 8 hours and getting people to ask questions and get into the detail, into the weeds, so to speak, about your business, I think can help people get past what they see as a facade in an hour, hour and a half, and 20 minutes. Because I think that's really important. And the two things that you said, and I just want to repeat this, it's just so important. And I remember writing this down at the Canada Sales Congress, I think this last year, when you said this, is that, success at your level, at the Bruce Etherington level, is a learned skill. And that just, man, it was just branded on my brain. When I heard learned skill, I'm thinking, man, where was Van Mueller 45 years ago? And I know where you were, but I didn't know that. Nobody said that. I mean, at least it didn't stick in my head the way I guess it didn't stick in yours neither. But that's such a huge thing. That's a learned skill. That means everybody who comes on Thursday, October 24th to the Toronto Airport Marriott, you can learn to do this stuff. And Van has the stuff you need to learn. And the other piece here is so important. And you've mentioned Bruce Etherington a few times. And I remember sitting in Bruce's office one day, and he told me, he said, man, the difference between me at the top of the table for more than 40 years and the average MDRT producer, and surely the people below that, is that I will practice and they won't. Most advisors that I coach and that I work with don't practice like this man that I coach, my friend Van Mueller. They don't practice at all. And I can tell you that Bruce Etherington practices to the point where he says, and at this point, this is where I will take off my glasses and put them on the sheet of paper. Can you imagine? To that point, that's how he practices. And I've seen people in meetings with him, and sure as shooting, that's exactly what he does. So this idea of learning the skills and getting the skills from somebody who's actually implementing them every single day. And even this afternoon, Van's going out and going to make some more sales today. Here's a guy who's already done 1,000 cases this year. 1,000 cases. Some of you are saying, well, I'll never do 1,000 cases. It ain't going to happen, Ruta. Stop it. Listen, you don't have to do everything that Van Mueller does to be a success. You don't have to do all of it. You don't have to be just like him to learn from him. And what if at the bottom end of the scale, you only added 30, 40, or 50% to your business this year and for every year thereafter? What would that mean to you? You see, I know from having worked with advisors and hundreds of them, thousands really, over the years, that one day something clicks. Like for Van, it was in year 17, after getting fired, something clicked. And I think this day can help it click for you. And that's what we want. That's what we really want. And then I'll go to the Anthony Hopkins thing, because I think this is just dynamite. And it's so absolutely true. It's absolutely true for what I do. You see me on Facebook Live. I've been doing videos for 10 years. And what I do is I'll repeat the script, repeat the script, repeat the script. Now, I don't do it 150 times, but I ain't getting no Oscars neither. but, but when you see Anthony Hopkins, think about this. What did Van say? You repeat it out loud. You read it out loud. I got to tell you something. With my daughter, my 17-year-old daughter, she was doing a video project for school one day, and we had created a script, and she was ready to go. And she says, well, let's just shoot it, Dad. I said, no, we don't shoot nothing yet. She said, what are you talking about? Nothing. I said, we don't shoot yet. Here's what we do. I want you to read it out loud 30 times. Now you can just imagine the whining. That was just me trying to get her to do it. But no, I got to say to you, and she did it. And I said, Abby, I won't turn the camera on until you do. And 30 times later, it was like exactly what Van said. It was only a 2-minute script. But like Van said, after that much time, she could just repeat it with perfection. And that's what Van does every day. He repeats it with perfection because he's prepared to practice, to perform at the top of his game. And you can too. And that's what I know. You know, Van is very hard on himself, and he doesn't need to be, frankly. But I can tell you this, the reason he's great, besides he's got a great heart and he wants to share, but the reason he's great is because he's prepared to practice. So here's the question. Will you practice to be great? You know, I think that if you can, you'll get the material you'll need on October 24th, 2019, Thursday from 8 to 5 at the Toronto Airport Marriott. And you will get things you've never seen before. This is a world premiere event. And I am so excited. We're so excited. We got Canada Life involved, just like that. They got involved. Insurance Journal, as our media sponsor, they got right involved because they see the value here too. We hope you do too. Hey, Van, maybe you just want to wind it up at the very end, just so everybody can hear from you at the end rather than me.
Thank you very much. Jimmy, I could sit and listen to you all day. That's how much I love it. If I could, the problem with our industry, and it's been a serious problem, is that we tell everybody they have to study. Study, 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 study. And by the time agents come to me, they say, I want to learn how to sell life insurance so I can really teach people about it. And I stop and I say, excuse me, would it be okay if I ask you a question? And they say, sure. I say, so you've made a decision that you'd like to be paid as if you're a teacher. You want to make what teachers make. And they go, well, no. And I say, well, that's what you're building your career around, being a teacher. We get paid huge amounts of money to inspire people to take action. And the way you do that is not by talking about yourself, but it's by asking about them. And so what I'm going to challenge everybody, I'll use an example. I find somebody in the audience and I say, may I ask you something? Are you good at anything? And they say, yeah, I'm really good at golf. And I say, so let me ask you something. If you read 50 books about golf before you ever played a round of golf, would you be any good at golf? And they go, well, no. And I say, well, so how did you get any good at golf? Well, I practiced. I said, oh my God, can I ask you something? The people that are really, really good at golf, are they the ones that have to think about what they're going to do, or can they play golf instinctively, that they have a measured swing and they know exactly what's going to happen? And how do you get like that? And they say, well, you got to practice. I say, well, isn't that the same if you want to be a professional insurance and financial advisor? So here's what I say. This is really important. This is what I hope you'll get when you come and visit us. What if you practiced your skill as an insurance agent as much as you practice your hobby? Most of you practice your hobby more than you practice your profession. I have another surprise for you. If I can get you to practice your profession, you'll have way more time for your hobby. That's why we're excited to be with you, because we want you to have a life. I have a life. I go to the movies, I play golf, I jog, I go to baseball, basketball, football games. I have a life. And I want to help you help people make a lot of money and build a life for yourself where you're always comfortable and happy. And I owe I owe forever. And if I can just throw in one little last thing, I know I'm talking an awful lot, but I want you to all understand. I know what you're thinking. What's in it for Van to do this? That's what you're thinking. I know you are. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. It's practice. Can you imagine being the first 10 people I call on after spending a day with you practicing how to do this? You better have your damn checkbook up because you're going to buy. Because what you do also is when you're around people that are like-minded people, you become convinced. And it helps you to become better and bigger and more powerful and less about you and more about them because you're not worried about you anymore. You're worried about them. And that's what's so exciting about all of this. And I hope that you will bring friends, come and join us. We will work very hard. Jim Ruta, greatest coach there is, Van Mueller, a work in progress agent who has learned from the greats of the industry. We will share those ideas with you. We will make sure that you leave better for the time and money you invested on that day. Thank you for your time.